Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Sunshine Study. I'm Dr. Rebecca, the Lifejoy coach and author, and I'm here to help you find joy, wisdom, courage, resilience, and more love in your life. So today I thought I would do the topic of the 3 biggest mistakes I've made in my career. Now, YouTube suggested that I do this, and I always like wise guidance, and I am a good girl, but I hope to be a great woman, and I like to do what is wise. So that's a hard thing to think about, isn't it? But when we think about difficult things, we stretch ourselves, and stretching ourselves is often wise. I like covering all the bases, but I don't want to dwell in worst case scenario. I don't want to dwell in best case scenario because either are extreme. What I'd like to do is dwell in realistic hope, do all that I can, do my best, and see what happens. So when I think about the word mistake, I think about the word failure, and that stings, doesn't it? But when we're comfortable with the odd sting in life, we are much more resilient. And the reality is, a life well lived will have blips and blunders and bumps in it, and we stumble along. I often talk to clients about watching a toddler learn to walk. And in many respects, we are toddlers in life as adults, however tall we get, and we're stumbling along trying to pull a few steps together and not fall down. But nearly always those toddlers get themselves back up quickly, they nearly always giggle, and they nearly always land somewhere soft. It's when they don't that we worry. But if we think about ourselves of, oh, that was a little blip, back up. Just a nice way to think about it. So there is really one startling mistake that I have made, and 2 others which probably we all make, but not many people have had the catastrophic effect that I have had. If you were to ask me in terms of my working life and my whole life, the 2 are completely intertwined. All of my work is an extension of the experiences I've had, particularly with illness and managing as best we can with it. Now, I have lots of qualifications and I have lots of experience, but the thing that I have most of is empathy, because I know what it is to struggle. I also know a great deal about suffering. Because at 17, I got glandular fever and I didn't rest and I didn't stop. And if I'd had 3 or 4 days in bed or 2 or 3 weeks proper rest, I think I would have improved and got better, but I didn't. And this is often the case for people with long-term chronic conditions, is there's a pivotal moment, often of infection, and sometimes not enough rest, sometimes there is enough rest and it all just goes wrong on them. But what happened to me was I pushed. And lots of people who talk about nailing it, smashing it, pushing it, have not had the dire life-changing consequences that I had. So I can tell you the date in November 1991 where I was very unwell and I went into school because I couldn't miss an A-level maths question. And the question and the lesson was about integration by parts. I can even remember it now. I can remember the room it was in, and the classroom was changed for some reason. So I had an extra bit of walking to do whilst I was ill, and I have never known pain or illness like it. And I still had a very sore throat and obviously was unwell and I had upset stomach. But that extra walk, we call it crossing the school field walk because that's what I had to do, ruined me. It ruined me physically, but it made me spiritually. That's a difficult thing to admit because if I hadn't made that one decision, I might have been well. I might have been able to feel well. I might have been able to go traveling, go to parties, move away to university, have a job, have a child, have a career, travel, have adventures, do voluntary work overseas, do all these magical things I hoped my life would be. And none of those things have happened. So I've had great restriction. And I could spend every YouTube video talking about that one decision and the ramifications, because the catastrophic effect that had on my health every day since. So that was when I was 17. I am now 51. There has not been a day where I have had not to manage my energy carefully or had none to manage. And I am very lucky and very grateful because so much of my health has improved, but I'm not fully fit and well. So I still have to live very carefully. Now, all the people who are still bed-bound, housebound, having crippled with pain and illness and delayed fatigue and lots of other symptoms would swap a million times with me. So I'm not complaining. I'm very good at counting my blessings. But that pivotal day in November 1991, after lunch, was the biggest career mistake because it was a life mistake. It ruined everything. The desperation to get very top A-level grades because I had to go to a posh university and I had to be a good girl and I had to, all the had tos, gone in a second. So when people have life-changing moments, and many people don't, and many people have lovely normal lives with bits of trouble and bits of mistake and they can recover, that was not recoverable. Not to where I was. When I was 16, I was so well, I was so fit, I was so strong. And by the time I was 18, 21, 30 and 40, I had not recovered enough. Now, here's the thing. I had enough. I didn't have a bountiful amount and my life was not perfect. But that one mistake, ironically, made the rest of my life. Because all of the work that I do now has to have a loving purpose from the 20 years of quite severe ME that I had. So I now am very good at teaching people to manage their energy, manage their health, manage their thinking, manage their lives, manage their relationships, manage their careers. Because of that one mistake, that gargantuan, life-changing, stupid decision. And I could berate myself forever until I realized that sometimes we have pivotal points in our life that perhaps even if I hadn't crossed that field, I wasn't going to get well, or this would have come later with a different situation. I may have had longer being well, but the lesson was there. So from all of that mistake has come an abundance, a harvest of goodness and help. So what I've tried to do with that, with the 5 books that I've written, I've got 3 more in the pipeline. I've had tens of thousands of people through my care as a Christian celebrant, doing funeral services, doing motivational speaking. And in the last 5 years, I've had many, many, many clients through my one-to-one coaching and life coaching and counselling sessions. All of that illness, that mighty, mighty mistake, I've tried to use to good purpose. Now, that doesn't mean the grief of that mistake isn't there. It's there every day. It's there every day when I'm sad I haven't been able to have a child, when I haven't been able to go running or swimming or be in the brass band or the choir or go out at night or do fancy things or have big weddings or parties or any of those things. But it didn't stop the slow and steady. So I want you to think about the biggest mistake in your life, your career, and how can it be used to good from the lessons you gained and then bless other people from it. So that's a big old lesson, isn't it? But the next lesson that I've got to share with you is my biggest career failure has been boundaries. And I spend all of my time, there isn't a week that goes by that I don't talk to clients about boundaries and their need of them. Bendy, kind, loving boundaries, but nevertheless boundaries. So every day since I was 17, I've either had to manage my own health or look after poorly parents. And that has been an expertise of an apprenticeship in coping strategies with illness. That's a very rare prescription, a very rare CV for the soul. But all of that has hinged upon boundaries because I had none. That's why I thought A-level grades were more important than all my health. Ridiculous. But I see that now. And I'm very good at x-raying people's lives and situations when they describe them to me about where is the lack of boundary here. And a boundary is a blessing. It's something that keeps you safe. It means that you don't fall off, fall over, fall out. But it needs establishing. And sometimes we don't establish boundaries until we've fallen off the trouble. And we climb back up and we're hurt and we're raggy. And then we learn again and we get a better boundary. But boundaries can be blessed with good manners. Yes, please, no, thank you. Thank you for including me. I can't do it at the moment. Come back to me in 2 months' time. What can I do? What's reasonable? These are good boundary questions. So all of that illness at 17 and then a lack of boundaries, because what then happened in the last 15 years of being self-employed is that I have been worried about income because nearly everybody who's self-employed, especially sole people like me, one-person band, worry about their businesses. And if they don't get clients and make sales, they don't get a salary or a wage or pay their bills. So I have taken on a lot of work when I wasn't well enough to do some of that work and my health has suffered. But I've still managed to do the work, which is an interesting boundary in itself, isn't it? So I've become more selective with time and I've trusted my intuition more. And I do that all the time because in the early days, when I was doing talks, I would just go and do a talk anywhere anybody rang me up to do, just about, that I could travel to. And then that would mean I would need to rest very carefully beforehand and recover afterwards, and all the prep for the talk. And everybody would have a lovely hour and go away motivated, and I'd go back to bed. So I learned about boundaries, the first thing. And one of them was about how far I would go to do the talk. And I had to put something difficult in, is I had to enact a financial boundary. That it wasn't all right to expect me to come to work for free or for £5 or £10 when you're getting all this time and expertise and help. That took practice and it took nerve, but it was a hard mistake, but I've learned from it. That's the whole point of mistakes. And probably the other issue of boundaries is that I had clients who've at times not paid me, or not turned up, or repeatedly not turned up, or taken my work, or plagiarized it, or, I've had to deal with that. And that's been about boundaries, but it's also been about my processes, my terms and conditions, and what I explain to people that I need from them, and they will have my all. So I now, thankfully, generally don't have clients who do a bunk, who forget to come, who don't bother to come, who come late, who talk on their phone during a session. I've had everything. And usually my clients, thank God, are very honourable, wise, reliable, and good people who want to go forward. So my boundaries for myself have got better, but also in my work. And I've passed on a lot of work to other people, and also people are still asking me to do certain jobs which I'm not able to do. And I have to steel myself to say, I'm sorry, I'm not well enough to do it, or I can't do it at the moment. And that is boundary, but I would love to do it in the future. So the boundary one. And the other thing, my third great failure in my working life, has realized that regret, bitterness, dwelling, mulling, cogitating, have a look at something once or twice, then let it go. Learn the lessons. Learn, let them, let you, let God. Because I've dwelled on things too much and I've worried too much. And I wish I hadn't worried as much. And I wish I trusted more that the clients would come, my colleagues would be reliable, work would come, and that if you told me 15 years ago that I would be able to pay bills and earn some money and offer something of worth, I would not have believed it possible. It wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago, 25 or 30, because I was so unemployable and I was so ill. But what is possible, what is probable, and what you can work slowly and steadily towards, despite the worst of mistakes, is quite magical sometimes. So one of my things, my mentor, Jackie Webster, often asks me in my one-to-one sessions that I do for my own continuing professional development is, what do you think would have changed or be different if you'd been well and that hadn't happened? That's a very hard question. But I think it would be just probably geography, stuff, and income. Because I probably would have been to more places. I might have done more things. I would have travelled. I hope I would have done more voluntary work on a bigger scale. I might have been a vicar. I might have done more fundraising. I would have just done more of what I do now, but what I do now is smaller and local. But that doesn't mean the small and the local doesn't have worth. And that took me decades to get to. Just because I wasn't doing VSO in Africa doesn't mean that when I go and be a patron at Headlight that has less worth. It's just geography. So geography is different. And I think if I'd been well, I probably would have earned more, and I would have earned lots of years of lots of salaries and been able to do more things. But I've been very fortunate that I've managed. And the other thing, I would have probably been more active, and I would have loved to do runs and triathlons and, been part of that busy, big life. But if I can stroll a bit and have my little dog and go to the beach, I'm very grateful for that. So from all those great mistakes, there have been lessons. And also remember that mistakes are so much part of life. And when we say failure is just a set of results you probably didn't want, and we go again with the knowledge they give us. And we don't do the same thing again if we can avoid it. And sometimes we need to say sorry to other people and really deeply mean it. But for me, we need to apologise to ourselves. I'm sorry I didn't value you enough to look after you, but I look after you now. So I won't make that mistake again. But every day I have to practice learning from that mistake to pace and protect my energy. And if you need help with that, come and see me. I'm an expert in burnout. I'm an expert in lots of challenge and coping strategies, and I'm a specialist in bereavement too. So, biggest career mistakes can be put right. You can change career. You can get another job. You can get away from a nasty boss. You can get a qualification. You can keep trying. It's not lost. You've still got plenty of time. Don't forget that. Take care, my friends. God bless. Be safe. Go gently. And think about the blessings that so-called mistakes have brought you. I think you might find many. God bless. Please like and subscribe.